You guys know that my text editor of choice has been Vim, but really since the beginning of this channel about 2 years ago, you guys have been asking me to take a serious look at GNU Emacs. And I've always kind of resisted it because I liked Vim. I've gotten used to Vim. The key bindings and everything, there's such a high learning curve to Vim that once I've made that investment in Vim, why would I switch from Vim away from Vim to Emacs? What is the benefit? And you guys have let me know some of the benefits of Emacs. You know, that there's things like org mode and maggot, and Emacs comes with its own shell. It even has its own window manager if I wanted to use it. You can play Tetris in Emacs. You can check your email in Emacs. You can browse the web in Emacs. Emacs is very much more than a text editor. It's really more of an operating system. It's over 1 million lines of code, which is quite bloated in my opinion, but you guys really wanted me to take a look at it, and I thought I owed it to myself to take a look at Emacs, so I'm doing it. So I installed Emacs a couple of days ago. I posted it on my community tab on my YouTube channel. So you go to my channel and click on the community tab here. You know, the last post there was a screenshot of me, sudo pacman -S Emacs, and it says, "I ain't scared." And quite a few of you guys commented on that. A lot of you guys were really excited about this, so I'm doing it. So let's get started. So first things first, I'm switching to Emacs, and I am going to have to extend Emacs. It's an extensible text editor, kind of like Vim. You know, to get the most out of it, you have to extend it a little bit, right? You have to install some extensions, some plugins, so I'm going to have to do that, but I want to try to use Emacs the Emacs way. You guys, a lot of you guys, since you guys know I'm a Vim user, wanted me to do things like evil mode and install Spacemacs and, you know, some other various Vim modifications to Emacs to make Emacs more Vim-like, which, to be honest, I think is a testament to Vim that there are so many projects out there trying to make Emacs more Vim-like, to use the Vim key bindings in Emacs, because you don't see that in Vim. Nobody is out there making Vim plugins, you know, to make Vim more Emacs-like. That doesn't exist, but there's a lot of projects out there for Emacs to try to make Emacs more Vim-like. So that should tell you a lot about Vim as a text editor versus Emacs. But again, Emacs is so much more than a text editor. Let's take a look at the website. So this is from GNU.org. Of course, Emacs is a GNU project. So it is an extensible, customizable, free/libre text editor and more. And the important part is, of course, the and more part. So some of the features: it has content-aware editing modes, including syntax coloring. It has a built-in documentation. It actually has really good documentation. Full Unicode support. The Unicode support is fantastic. I've already played a little bit testing that out. Highly customizable if you know eLisp. That's the language it's written in and customized in. It has this entire ecosystem of functionality beyond just text editing. Again, you got things like project planning, email, newsreaders, debuggers, calendars, and again, so much more. And then it has its own packaging system. It almost has its own package manager in it that makes it very easy to install extensions. So what I did is I sudo pacman -S Emacs here in the terminal here on my Arco Linux install, and let's check out what GNU Emacs looks like out of the box. Let me launch Emacs. So this is Emacs, not configured in any way, pretty much just Emacs out of the box. This is what it will probably look like on your machine if you install Emacs, assuming you're installing it on a Linux box. I don't know exactly if there's any differences on the Windows version or the BSD version or the Mac version. It exists on all those platforms, though. This is the latest version of Emacs 26.3. Now, the first thing you will notice with Emacs, it is a graphical program, and that, you know, it has the title bar and header. It's got, your toolbar, and it's got images in it. It's got these links, almost like hyperlinks, almost like it's HTML. So it's very, if those of you used to Vim, this would be more like GVim, right? The difference with Vim and GVim, though, is that GVim was not as powerful as just your regular terminal-based Vim, where Emacs has a terminal version and a GUI version. This is the GUI version, and the GUI version is really, in a lot of ways, better than the terminal version. The terminal version's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's you would probably prefer to use that when you have to use it, like if you were at a TTY prompt or you had to SSH into another machine that happened to have Emacs on it. But just for regular daily use on your main production machine, writing and programming, editing code, you probably would prefer the GUI. It seems like that's what most people prefer, so that's what I'm going to use. Now, I didn't do a ton of research in the last couple of days on this. I'm just getting into Emacs, and I wanted to do this video very much as a new to Emacs user. I didn't want to use it for a couple of weeks or even a month and then make a video on it, because I want you to see how a new user, or maybe somebody that's not necessarily new, but I'm used to Vim, I'm used to other text editors, problems that may arise with me trying to learn Emacs. Anyway, the main screen here when you first launch Emacs has the Emacs tutorial. It has a guided tour, and it has good documentation. It even allows you to open a file, open a directory, a customized startup. It's got links to all that. Why does it have these links? It's because even though it's keyboard driven, and you could probably do all of this with some kind of key combination when you first come to Emacs, you don't know what the key combination, like how do you open a file? I actually pulled up a cheat sheet so I could kind of figure out how to do that with the keyboard, but if you didn't, you would just click that, and you actually get a window that opens up, and then I could open up some text file on my system. For example, if I wanted to, let's not open my vimrc in Emacs. That just seems like sacrilegious. Let's open up my bash rc, and since bash is GNU. Alright, so this is my bash rc file just on plain vanilla Emacs. I don't like the white background. This is blinding white. I hate black text on white. I prefer, dark backgrounds and lighter text. So now we could customize this. Again, there's key combinations to get into this, but when you first launch Emacs, the good thing is you do actually have the toolbars at the top. So if I search around here for a second, I can find options, customize Emacs, and custom themes. And if I click that, we have these available themes. So what I would do is I would just start checking out some of these. That's the Adwaita theme. That's not dark enough for me. I think Mysterioso's not bad. Yeah, I kind of like that. Let's save that theme. And then if I go down here and I cycle through the open buffers here, I'll get back to my bash RC. And yeah, I kind of like the look of that. That's not bad. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to start turning this into a proper text editor. I want it to look like a proper text editor. For one thing, I don't need a scroll bar in my text editor. I don't use them. So I'm going to get rid of that scroll bar. I don't need the tool bar here. I'm going to learn all the key combinations anyway to do everything keyboard driven, which is the way Emacs is meant to run. The toolbar and the menu bar and the scroll bar, they're all there by default, but you can turn them off, and you probably should once you actually learn all the key combinations. Well, I know I'm going to spend some time learning the key combinations anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and turn some of this off, and I'm going to do it the GUI way right now. That way I don't have to Google how to do it. So I'm going to go to Options and then Show Hide. First thing I'm going to do is I see line numbers. I'm going to go to line numbers for all lines. I do want that. Global line number mode. Okay, and that gives me line numbers. I like that. I always have line numbers in Vim and Genie and any other text editor I use. That's pretty good, but I want relative line numbers, where the cursor actually tells you exactly what line it's on. So if I go back to Options, Show Hide, Line Numbers, instead of absolute line numbers, I'm going to do relative line numbers. So now when I move the cursor, you can see the cursor is on line 22, and it actually tells me that. 22, and then 1 through 21, 1 through whatever in each direction. So it's a relative line number. I like that. So I'm going to stay with that. I'm going to go back to Options, go back to Show Hide. I'm going to get rid of Tooltips. Oh, change desktops. Options, show hide. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the scroll bar. No vertical scroll bar. And now I don't have any more scroll bar. And the last thing I'm going to do, even though I've been doing everything with this menu system, I'm about to turn off the menu bar. Oh, you know what? I forgot to turn off the toolbar first. I don't know how to get the menu bar back. But I think to do some of this with the key combinations is Meta X, which is Alt. The Alt key is the Meta key in Emacs. So Meta X, and then type the word tool, well, not tool, tool dash bar dash mode. And it will toggle the toolbar on and off. So that's how you would have done it outside of the GUI. You can do it with the keyboard. Same thing with the menu bar. We could have toggled that on and off, and the scroll bar as well. So there are key combinations to do all that. But of course, when you first launch, it may be easier to turn some of that stuff on and off in the GUI. Now the theme, I'm not crazy about that theme, if I'm being honest. I think I want to change to a different color scheme. My Vim color scheme was my own personal take on the Dracula color scheme. I tweaked it a little bit, but I do know there are some Emacs Dracula color schemes out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Google for one. Alright, so I found this site here, draculatheme.org. It's a site dedicated to the Dracula color scheme, and they have ways to get that particular color scheme installed in about 50 different applications, terminal-based applications, GUI applications, and of course they have a Dracula theme for Emacs. And how do you install it? Well, they have you can use the Melpa package installer. You have to enable it inside Emacs. I don't have it enabled yet, the Melpa package archive. You can install it using Homebrew, or you could just grab the theme manually. It's just basically one file. You grab it from GitHub, install it in the .emacs.d/themes directory in your home directory, and then add these two lines to your init.el. So let me go back to the desktop. I'm going to open up a graphical file manager, PCMan-FM. Of course, there is a file manager inside Emacs. We'll discuss that at a later date. Anyway, in your home directory, when you install Emacs, there's a hidden directory called .emacs.d. And in that directory, you may or may not have a file called init.el. I didn't have one initially. I created this, and I added the lines I needed to add to get the Dracula color theme working. And let me show you this in action. So let me quit out of Emacs here and relaunch it. And now I should have my color scheme, hopefully. So if I reopen that bash RC file, let's see if it changed. Where is that bash RC file? There it is. That's not the proper color scheme. All right, I think I figured out what the problem was. Let me relaunch Emacs. And to solve this problem, I think I need to do Meta X, customize, -themes. And now the Dracula theme that I added in my emacs.d/themes directory should be there. I tick that on. Save theme settings. I think that's all I need to do. If I Control X and then Control C, close. If I relaunch Emacs, will it actually remember the Dracula theme? It does. So that's the Dracula theme. And just to be sure, let's open up the bash RC file and make sure it has the proper colors. There it is. All right. And if I wanted to, I could open up something else just to check. So Control X and then 3 to split vertically. So let's open up something. So Control X, Control F, and then I'm going to open up my .xmonad file, my xmonad config, my xmonad.hs. And there's my xmonad config, which I'm in today, by the way, xmonad. So that is a little bit of what I've just initially wanted to do. I wanted to theme it with a nice color scheme. Wanted to get rid of the scroll bar, wanted to get rid of the menu bar, the toolbar, all of that. And I mean, just playing around with it initially, it already looks really good. Now, some of the things I'm just kind of figuring out how to navigate and around in Emacs and open and close things, you saw some of the weird combinations, Control X, Control C, Control X, Control F, things like that. It's a little weird to navigate. Instead of using, HJKL like in Vim, you use Control and then some motion key. I believe it's Control N, I guess, for next line to go down. So just hold Control and hit N, or Control N, hit P for previous. So that's, the J and K in Vim. It's Control N and Control P in Emacs. As you probably already guessed, Control F for forward, Control B for back. So those would be H and L. So you saw me do Control X and then the number 3 to do that vertical split. If I wanted to, I could actually go into this pane here and do Control X and 2 and do that horizontal split. So then if I wanted to, basically it opens up the same file I was working on in the initial pane. So it opened up the bash RC again, but I could Control X, Control F for file, and then I could type a file name down here at the prompt to open up if I already know the file name. If I don't, I could just hit enter right now and it will open up the path that I'm currently on, which is my home directory. Watch where it opens up that home directory. It opens up right here. So this is basically Emacs's file manager that they call dired, D-I-R-E-D for directory editor. And this is just, you can navigate it with the arrow keys, or you can do the Control N and Control P. But anyway, if I navigate to a file I actually want to edit, so if I had something I wanted to edit, I don't know, I'm just gonna see what sticks out at me. You know what, I could go down here and edit my ZSH files somewhere down here. Yeah, ZSHRC, hit enter. I could open that up. One thing I've already started doing, because I want to dive into Emacs and really learn it, I want to get rid of all my shortcuts that involve opening config files and stuff in Vim. I want all those to now be opened in Emacs. So if I Control X, Control F again to get back into the file manager and open it in my home directory. And one of the things I wanted to do was some of my D menu scripts. So if I go to I have a folder in here called .dmenu. That's where I put all my dmenu scripts. The folder right under it that's just dmenu without the dot, that's the source code for dmenu, but .dmenu has all my scripts. And I have one called dmenu edit configs, and if I open that, all the execute commands in here are now execute Emacs name a file, rather than execute st, which is my terminal, vim, which is the text editor in the terminal, and then name a file. Now I've just changed all that to Emacs, and if you see it in action, that particular dmenu script, so Super Shift E, you will see I can edit any of my configs up here. So if I open my awesome config, it opens it in Emacs. I don't actually want to edit that, so Control X, Control C to close. Anyway, this is just a very quick first look at Emacs. I haven't done much with it. I know how to open and close Emacs. I know how to open files. I know how to open the file directory editor, basically their file manager inside Emacs. And I know some of the motion keys. Some of the motion keys, not all of them. I know a little bit about customizing the themes and the font and things like that. So I installed this 2 days ago. Spent probably, I spent a few hours in it. I'm not going to lie, I spent a few hours each day in it. It does have a learning curve. I will say it's a little easier to get into initially than Vim is. Vim has a very steep learning curve initially. But here's the thing, once you learn it, you spend those first few days in Vim or those couple of weeks and you really kind of get the basic commands, you've got Vim. Where Emacs really seems like it's going to take months, if not years, to really become a Emacs guru. So this is going to be quite the undertaking for me. Right now I'm focused on mainly just getting the Emacs text editor to work for me. As I get more used to living in Emacs, the text editor, then I may explore some of the other options. For sure, I'm going to explore things like org mode eventually. That's one of the biggest requests you guys have. I'm going to, play around with Maggot, which is their Git client that's built into Emacs. I may play around with their email client. I'm certainly going to do some of the games inside Emacs. We may actually do a video on, it has a ton of built-in games, by the way. I've actually looked at a couple already. I may or may not do EXWM, which is the Emacs window manager. It's like a tiling window manager. But it's not really a tiling window manager. It's basically Emacs is your window manager. It's like opening up your window manager inside Emacs. It's a little strange. I may or may not do something with that. I'm undecided on that. I'm pretty happy with my traditional tiling window managers like Xmonad today. So I don't know. If you guys want to see me try that at some point, I may give that a shot too. But again, right now, I'm just trying to make the text editor itself work. Before I go, this show was made possible by Ansem, Chris, the other Chris, Daniel, David, DJ, Donnie, Dylan, George, Corbinian, Mitchell, Natek, Philip, Rob, Robert, Sam, Sean, Stephanie, and Willie. They're the producers of the show. My highest tiered patrons over on Patreon. Without these guys, I wouldn't be switching to GNU Emacs. Nah, I'm lying. I probably would try it out, but without these guys, the show would not be possible. Also brought to you by all those fine ladies and gentlemen, all those names you see on the screen that help support my work over on Patreon. Without each and every one of these guys, again, the show wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider doing so. You'll find me at DistroTube over on Patreon. All right, guys. Peace.